and blessed be multiplied amongst all the saints. I'm Priest y'all are done bringing forth the live Shabbat class for today, titled The Spirit of Abel. Last week we talked about the spirit of Cain and how this is a wicked spirit that plagues that chosen lineage of Satan. That lineage that will receive the spirit of Cain and act just like Cain. And in doing so, he would bring forth destruction and condemnation upon the earth. Cain will have a covenant of violence. But now we are looking at the flip side of it, the exact opposite, the chosen lineage that would have the spirit of Abel, that Satan was seeking to exterminate. Let's start in Genesis 4 and 3, where we were picking up last week, where we started last week actually, where we start to see the split of these two spirits, these two lineages, that of the wicked and that of the righteous. Let's pick up in Genesis 4, starting the third verse. Priest Rashim.
And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground, an offering unto the Most High. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Most High had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
So we talked about this last week, the difference between the sacrifices that were brought between Abel and Cain. How Abel brought the best of the best and offered it timely, and the Most High accepted it. But Cain, who was the firstborn, who was supposed to receive the inheritance, came late. And not only did he come late, he brought trash to the Heavenly Father. The Most High said, I'm not accepting that. He is a great royal king in heaven, and you want to give him the bottom of the barrel, bottom shelf items as an offering. The Most High would not accept that. Let's read on.
Verse 6. And the Most High said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
So, once again, if you don't know the understanding about sin, you have to go and watch those videos about sin. Sin is not just doing wrong. It's a spirit that overtakes you when you do wrong because Satan accused you. Once again, go and watch that video if you haven't already. But in doing so, in doing wrong, in transgressing, Cain received an evil spirit and it took him over. Let's read on.
Verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Most High said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
So we see now the results of sin. It caused us to kill our brother. The spirit of Cain caused us to be against our brethren. And that spirit of Cain, we talked about who specifically that is attributed to, but we also talked about how the spirit of Cain can come upon anybody. We saw children of Israel, the true lineage of Israel, still receiving the spirit of Cain too. And we're going to look a little bit further at that today. But we see the spirit of Cain on him to cause him to kill his brother. Let's read on.
Verse 10. And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Now we see Abel being dead, is the blood crying unto Abba from the grave. We're going to look at this point. Let's drop that. Let's go to Jasher chapter 1, verse 24, as we get a little more understanding on this blood crying out. Genesis chapter 1, pick up in Jasher chapter 1, pick up in 24th verse.
And when Cain heard the words which Abel his brother had spoken, behold, the anger of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring this thing.
So last week we went through this with a little more depth just to get the context of how this whole slaying happened, how Satan worked. So go back and watch that class if you want more of the details on how this actually happened. We know we see that Genesis just kind of glosses over it. But if you want some more of the details, once again, you can go back to the old class, or you can even read this chapter in the book of Jasher. But we see once again Cain slaying Abel, the spirit of Cain working its work. Let's read on.
Verse 25. And Cain hastened and rose up and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, which he held, with which he suddenly smote his brother and slew him. And Cain spilt the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. And after this Cain repented, having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he wept over him, and it vexed him exceedingly. And Cain rose up and dug a hole in the field, wherein he put his brother's body, and he turned the dust over it. And the Most High knew what Cain had done to his brother, and the Most High appeared to Cain and said unto him, Where is Abel thy brother that was with thee? And Cain dissembled and said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?
So we see the same thing happening. Cain, being wroth and filled with anger and filled with that spirit of sin, went and slew his brother, and then tried to cover up, didn't confess his faults, didn't bring forth an offering to make atonement, but lied with pride. I'm supposed to take care of my brother? Come on now. And what was the result? Let's read on.
Continuing in verse 29. And the Most High said unto him, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground where thou hast slain him.
All right, so now we see a little more information. The voice of your brother, that blood, is crying unto Abba Yahweh. Let's get a little more context. Let's go to Hebrews 11 and 1. Let's pick up Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, and start to get a little more understanding on Abel's portion here. We always focus on Cain, and it is important because, as we know, we need to eviscerate that spirit of Cain. We need to remove the spirit of sin from our lives. We also need to examine Abel and him as well, and his portion to play in this. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Preacher Sheen.
Now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Now this is not a time to break down faith. However, it is an important part in our covenant and in understanding this dispensation between, or the disparity between Cain and Abel. Faith is not what we've been told, just like sin is not what we've been told. Sin is not when you go and do wrong. Sin is that spirit that comes upon you when you do wrong. Neither is faith just believing in something without any evidence, without any substance. That's not what faith is. Faith is not putting on a blindfold and walking off a cliff. That's what Satan tried to get the Messiah to do. Just walk off on blind faith. Messiah came back and said, don't you know what faith is? Faith is the substance of something I've hoped for. When I hope for something and it materializes, that's faith. And once again, this is not a class on faith. It would take too long to break that down. But in short, faith is that interaction that we as physical beings have with the spiritual realm that we cannot see. So when we interact with that spiritual realm, we have received faith. Jump down to the 4th verse.
Verse 4. By faith Abel offered unto Abba a more excellent sacrifice than Cain.
By faith, Abel offered an acceptable sacrifice. He was able to interact with the spiritual realm and receive messages from Abba. And in doing so, he was convicted and said, I will be faithful. I will go and do this thing to Abba because I have proof, I have evidence of this spiritual realm. Let's read on.
By which he obtained witness that he was righteous.
And there is faith. Abel came with a sacrifice, hoping to receive something, and it materialized. The Most High brought down fire from heaven, and it consumed his offering. And Abel's like, all right, I know without a doubt the Most High approved of this. While Cain did not receive that. Let's read on.
Abba Yahweh testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh.
Now by his gift, by his sacrifice, after Cain slew him, he was still able to speak. His body still proclaimed messages on the earth. Even though it had been removed from the earth, the Spirit was still able to speak and bring forth a message to the Heavenly Father. This is how it worked because of his righteousness. This is Abel's spirit still being upon the earth to bring a message out that was needed. Let's get that in the Urim translation of the Bible that we've been working on through the Spirit at the House of Wisdom to get, once again, further understanding on what was going on with Abel, even after his death. He wasn't forgotten. He wasn't forsaken. He wasn't just written out of the history pages. His spirit still spoke on his behalf. Let's get Reshith or Genesis, the official translation, in the Urim translation, and let's pick it up in verse 8.
The messenger consequently rejected Cain and therefore confirmed the covenant with his younger brother Abel. Cain was plowing his field, and when he heard the verdict, he then raised up with rage and envy against his brother Abel and murdered him.
All right, so we see that a covenant was given with Cain or with Abel, and no covenant was given to Cain. And therefore, he was enraged. Satan whispered in his ear, and he rose up and slayed Abel. Let's read on.
Verse 9. I, the messenger of Yah, spoke directly to Cain, saying, because you have had no regard nor love for your brother Abel, ye shall become bastard.
He said, you had a chance to come back to your father, but because you went and did this wickedness, you shall have no father. Abel will no longer be your father. You will be a bastard. You will be separated from the Heavenly Father. Let's read on.
Verse 10. The messenger thundered again, saying, there was no reason for you to cut down thy brother without a charge. I'm against every portion of your sacrifice that you gathered of the ground. The messenger continued to say, who has persuaded you to come against any parts of his worship?
So we see that Cain rose up against the holy lineage, against holy worship to the Heavenly Father. And then what happened when he did that?
The blood of your brother's sacrificial offering still speaks on his behalf from the earth.
The blood of Abel's sacrifice, because of Abel's righteous sacrifice, the Spirit still spoke on his behalf, on Abel's behalf, on what happened. He went and told Abel exactly what happened to the T. Told him what weapon you used, how it happened, what happened, everything. And what was his spirit saying? Let's go to the first book of Adam and Eve, 79, verse 7. Because of Abel's righteousness, his righteous, holy, acceptable offering, his spirit was still able to send messages up on his behalf. Now, was he just telling on Cain? Was he just speaking soothing words? What was he saying? What exactly was Abel doing? What was Abel's spirit? After his flesh had died, what was his spirit doing at that moment? Let's pick it up in the last chapter of the first book of Adam and Eve, 79. We'll pick up in the 7th verse, Priest Rashim.
But as to Cain, he did not want to make an offering. But after his father became very angry, he offered up a gift once. He took the smallest of his sheep for an offering, and when he offered it up, his eyes were on the lamb.
So we see once again Cain, that wicked, bringing nothing, bringing the lowest of the low. He brought an unacceptable offering and was jealous of Abel and his offering and sought to slay him. And when he slayed Abel, that spirit, the spirit of Abel, was still around and still speaking and talking because of his righteousness and his righteous sacrifice. Let's pick it up in the 7th verse and read on to see what the spirit of Abel was doing.
But if it was not that I love you, I would not have told you this thing.
I'll go and read it. And then if you grab Jasher chapter 2, pick up the first verse. So it says, first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 79, verse 7. Then Cain, the hard-hearted and cruel murderer, took a large stone and smote his brother with it upon the head, until his brains oozed out and he weltered in his blood before him. See how gruesome this man was. How sin and the spirit upon him worked a wicked work. Verse 8. And Cain repented not of what he had done, for the earth, when the blood of righteous Abel fell upon it, trembled as it drank his blood, and would have brought Cain to naught for it. And the blood of Abel cried mysteriously to Abba, to avenge him of his murderer. This is why the spirit of Abel was crying out to Abba. It wasn't just to tell on him. It wasn't just to be talking with Abba. It was for vengeance. It was to accuse Cain. The spirit of Abel rose up and brought accusations against Cain. This is what the spirit of Abel will do. And this is what the spirit was given to the righteous to do from the generations continuing. We talked about how the spirit of Cain will continue throughout this 7,000 years and bring forth destruction and vengeance and violence upon the earth. Abel's spirit will now rise up and continue to talk and flow through all the brothers that will come after him. And they will rise up and bring forth destruction and violence upon Cain, upon those that will reap wickedness upon the earth. And we'll go and prove that throughout this class, Abba willing, showing how the spirit of Abel was sent to rise up and bring forth an end to wickedness, bring forth an end to that spirit of Cain. Let's pick it up first in Jasher chapter 2. Let's pick up in the first verse, priest regime.
And it was in the 130th year of the life of Adam upon the earth that he again knew Eve his wife. And she conceived and bare a son in his likeness and in his image. And she called his name Seth, saying, because Abba has appointed me another seed in the place of Abel, for Cain has slain him.
All right, now go to the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 1. We see that the Most High sent forth now another son, Seth. You cannot stop the prophecies of the Heavenly Father. And this is what the spirit of Cain was trying to do. Satan was seeking to stop the prophecies of Abba. A righteous one rose up, Abel, to continue that righteous lineage of Adam. Now we can't have that. I need my spirit of Cain to overtake the whole earth so I can kill Abel, and Cain will be the only one left. But no, the Most High said, I'm going to raise up another one. I rejected Cain. I'm going to raise up another, Seth, to receive that same spirit that was upon Abel, to stand up as a righteous, dedicated soldier for the Heavenly Father. Let's show that in the second book of Adam and Eve. Let's start in the first chapter and pick up in the 9th verse, priest regime.
But as for Adam and Eve, they came not together after Abel's funeral for 7 years. After this, however, Eve conceived, and while she was with child, Adam said to her, come, let us take an offering and offer it up unto Abba Yahweh, and ask him to give us a fair child on whom we may find comfort and whom we may join in marriage to Abel's sister.
So now we see that righteous lineage coming back about through another son that would be Seth. And how did they petition the Most High for this to happen? Through a sacrifice. He said, come and let's give Abba an offering that his covenant may be fulfilled through our other son, Seth. Let us not think that sacrifices are done away with. We already see that Cain, that spirit of Cain, rose up against the sacrifices. Anybody rising up against the sacrifices, saying that we don't do them anymore, the Most High doesn't require sacrifices, you have the spirit of Cain upon you. You have sought to kill and stop the sacrifices that Abba requires. The righteous lineage was brought about through nothing other than sacrifice. So they can do nothing other than give Abba his sacrifices. Let's read on.
Verse 10. Then they prepared an offering and brought it up to the altar and offered it before the Most High. and began to entreat him to accept their offering and to give them a good offspring.
Let's move over to the next chapter, chapter 2. Let's pick up in the first verse. So we see they came with an acceptable sacrifice so that Abel would give them a good offspring. Don't give me another Cain. Give me somebody with the spirit of my second-born son Abel, that he may live in righteousness. Sacrifices is of righteousness. Those that give sacrifices have that spirit of Abel upon them. But if you are against the sacrifices, if you're teaching that sacrifices are done away with, if you're against somebody giving up the sacrifice, especially in this new covenant, you indeed have the spirit of Abel, spirit of Cain upon you. Let's continue on looking at the newborn son that will receive this spirit of Abel. 2 Adam and Eve, chapter 2, verse 1.
And Eve brought forth a son perfectly beautiful in figure and in countenance. His beauty was like that of his father Adam, yet more beautiful. Then Eve was comforted when she saw him, and remained 8 days in the cave. Then she sent her daughter unto Adam to tell him to come and see the child and name him. But the daughter stayed in his place by the body of her brother until Adam returned. So did she. But when Adam came and saw the child's good looks, his beauty, and his perfect figure, he rejoiced over him and was comforted for Abel. Then he named the child Seth. That means that Abba Yahweh has heard my prayer and has delivered me out of my affliction. But it means also power and strength.
So they named him Seth. He would be the one to take on Abel's position on the earth. He will receive that spirit that was upon Abel to live righteously, to stand strong, offering Abba his acceptable sacrifices, and also to bring forth destruction upon the wicked through his power and his strength. Let's read on.
Verse 4. Then after Adam had named the child, he returned to the cave of treasures, and his daughter went back to her mother. But Eve continued in her cave until 40 days were fulfilled, when she came to Adam and brought with her the child and her daughter.
For time's sake, let's jump down to the 9th verse. We got a few things we got to cover. So let's go to the 9th verse.
Verse 9. But Seth waxed in stature and in strength, and began to fast and pray fervently.
Let's move over to the 5th chapter of the second book of Adam and Eve. So now we see Seth receiving that spirit of Abel to stand strong and to fast and to pray fervently. He did not receive the same spirit that was upon Cain to come haphazardly in any way he wants to, with a lackadaisical mindset to come to Abba and just, here you go. It's 5 minutes until the end of the hour. Here you go, Abba. Take this. Take this little rotten tomato. You can have that. Now, he was fervent with the same spirit that Abel was, coming aforetime, bringing forth the acceptable offerings and being accepted of the Heavenly Father. Let's jump down to let's go to the 5th chapter and pick up in the 1st verse, priest.
As for Seth, when he was 7 years old, he knew good and evil, and was consistent in fasting and praying, and spent all his nights in entreating Abba Yahweh for mercy and forgiveness.
Once again, we see how the spirit of Abel was working upon Seth. That spirit didn't just disappear. Seth received it and stood strong, fasting and praying and entreating Abba for his mercy and forgiveness for the wickedness that would be upon the earth. Let's read on.
Verse 2. He also fasted when bringing up his offering every day, more than his father did. For he was of a fair countenance, like unto an angel of Abba Yahweh. He also had a good heart, preserved the finest qualities of his soul, and for this reason he brought up his offering every day.
This is how the spirit of Abel operates on the saints. We don't act like Cain, just coming whenever we want to, at any moment, giving the worst of the worst. He came bringing the things of the finest quality, bringing forth a righteous soul every single day to bring forth an offering to the Heavenly Father. This is how the spirit of Abel works upon the saints. When you see somebody doing that, you see that they don't have the spirit of Cain upon them. They have the spirit of Abel, a righteous, godly spirit upon them. Let's read on.
Verse 3. And Abba Yahweh was pleased with his offering, but he was also pleased with his purity. And he continued thus in doing the will of Abba Yahweh and of his father and mother until he was 7 years old. After that, he was corning down from the altar, having ended his offering. Satan appeared unto him in the form of a beautiful angel, brilliant with light, with a staff of light in his hand, himself girt about with a girdle of light.
So now Satan sought to do the same thing he did with Cain and bring forth the spirit of Cain upon Seth and remove the spirit of Abel and bring forth his wickedness. Came as an angel of light, staff in hand, shining, probably like Moses when he came down the mountain. That's a tricky thing to deal with. But when the spirit is upon you to do righteousness, you cannot do wickedness, as the scriptures told us in John 4. Let's read on.
Verse 5. He greeted Seth with a beautiful smile and began to beguile him with fair words, saying to him, O Seth, why abidest thou in the mountain? For it is rough, full of stones and of sand and of trees with no good fruit on them, a wilderness without habitations and without towns. No good place to dwell in, but all is heat, weariness, and trouble.
You ever heard people talking about a great salesman? He could sell water to a whale. Mm-hmm. That's Satan right here. This man is in the city of Adam with gold temples and all that, precious fruit trees. And like, is it where you live, man? This joint is a trash heap. Look at that tree right there. Look at that orichalcum. Look at that gold. That ain't nothing. That's sand. That's a desert. And Seth was like, oh, really? You got something better than this? Let's read on.
Verse 6. He said further, but we dwell in beautiful places in another world than this earth. Our world is one of light, and our condition is of the best. Our women are handsomer than any others. And I wish thee, O Seth, to wed one of them, because I see that thou art fair to look upon. And in this land there is not one woman good enough for thee. Besides, all those who live in this world are only 5 souls.
All right, move on to the next chapter, chapter 6. So now we see Satan tempting him and telling him that he has a better world. You can follow me and I'll bring you into a better place. I'll bring you somewhere better than the city of Adam. I'll bring you to this divine realm. You're in the earth right now. I'll bring you back to that Garden of Eden. And once again, you see how it's a lie. Who's getting married in the Garden of Eden? Nobody, as the Messiah said. But he came with that trickery. That's that weird Viking stuff. You go to quote-unquote Valhalla and you get to marry 30 virgins. That's what the Muslims say. Don't you get to marry all these virgins when you blow yourself up with a bomb and you die in, call that jihad or something?
Yeah, jihad.
This is some abominations, and Satan is selling that to Seth. And as a side note, you see where these people got it from. None other than Satan. Go to this divine realm and you'll be given unto marriage? Not at all. That doesn't happen amongst angels. But nonetheless, let's read on. Let's look at how Seth, the righteous, how he responded to this temptation, this great temptation from Satan.
Second Adam and Eve, chapter 5 and verse 1.
Or chapter 6, verse 1.
Chapter 6 and verse 1. When Seth heard these words, he was amazed and inclined his heart to Satan's treacherous speech and said to him, saidest thou, there is an other world created than this, and other creatures more beautiful than the creatures that are in this world? And Satan said, yes, behold, thou hast heard me, but I will yet praise them and their ways in thy hearing. But Seth said to him, thy speech has amazed me, and thy beautiful description of it all.
So Seth was enamored by the speech and deception that Satan was bringing to him, saying, there is a world greater and more beautiful. And Satan saying, yeah, I'll take you there. Just follow me, and I will take you to that great heavenly realm. Read on.
Verse 4. Yet I cannot go with thee today.
That spirit of Abel that was upon him was like, something's not right with this. Take some time and think on this, all right? Don't just go. Seth was like, you know what? Let me not hearken to that. Let me take some time away. I can't go today. What else?
Not until I have gone to my father Adam and to my mother Eve and told them all thou hast said to me. Then if they give me leave to go with thee, I will come.
That spirit of Abel was upon him and said, man, talk to your parents first. They seen some things. They got some experiences. Go and talk to them first and then see what you need to do. Read on.
Verse 5. Again, Seth said, I am afraid of doing anything without my father and mother's leave, lest I perish like my brother Cain.
Once again, look at the spirit of Abel. He's like, nah, remember what Cain did? See how he perished from off the earth? See how he was cursed? Make sure you talk to your father and mother first before that happens. Read on.
And like my father Adam.
Or even like Adam, who transgressed and then was punished. Let me not do that. Let me be a little cautious first. Let me seek some wise counsel and then see what I should do. Read on.
Who transgressed the commandment of Abba Yahweh. But behold, thou knowest this place. Come and meet me here tomorrow. Verse 6. When Satan heard this, he said to Seth, if thou tellest thy father Adam that I have told thee, he will not let thee come with me.
Look at Satan coming again. Whoa. You want to talk to someone? No. This is a one-time offer, man. You leave. It's over with. Yeah, fast talking him. You ever had like a salesman trying to pressure you? And that's always what they do. It's today only. You can't come back. You got to buy it right now. I had somebody do that trying to scam me. I was like, you know what? Let me talk to somebody. It looks good. He's trying to sell some speakers out of the Walmart parking lot. Oh, okay. It looks good. You selling them cheap. Let me call somebody up and see if this is good. And the counsel was absolutely not. That's a scam. Actually, the person didn't pick up. I was like, hey, he's not picking up. Can I come back and see you later? I said, nah, you don't do it now. It's over with. I got to sell these off. Okay, dude, go ahead. I ain't going to do it without the counsel first. That is that satanic spirit. Don't talk to anybody. Keep this within yourself. Don't tell anybody what's going on, because if you do, you're going to ruin my whole scheme. Let's read on.
Verse 7. But hearken to me. Do not tell thy father and thy mother what I have said to thee.
Once again, words of the devil. Words of those with the spirit of Cain. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell a man more wise than you. Don't seek wise counsel. Just do it. This is an offer you need to take right now, or it's over with. Let's read on.
But come with me today to our world, where thou shalt see beautiful things and enjoy thyself there, and revel this day among my children, beholding them and taking thy fill of mirth, and rejoice evermore. Then I shall bring thee back to this place tomorrow, but if thou wouldest rather abide with me, so be it. Verse 8. Then Seth answered, the spirit of my father and of my mother hangs on me, and if I hide from them one day, they will die. And Abba Yahweh will hold me guilty of sinning against them.
He said, I cannot. I do not want to bring any transgressions amongst my household. This is that spirit of Abel to do righteousness, where if this was Cain and his temptation, he'd be like, oh, right on, let's do it. I'm ready. I already have my bags packed. I just need an excuse to leave. Let's go ahead. But the spirit of Abel was different. Don't do that. You will bring forth death and destruction amongst your house. Let's read on. Let's jump down to the 10th verse, actually.
Verse 10. Then Satan said to him, what will happen to thee if thou hidest thyself from them one night, and return to them at break of day?
So Satan was still pressuring him. Satan was getting desperate too. Like, just how about you hide yourself? We can make that happen. Hide yourself, and then you just come back later. How does Seth react?
Verse 11. But Seth, when he had saw how he kept on talking, and that he would not leave him, ran.
He said, something's up. Something is strange. Let me get up and run. I'm sure sisters can identify with this. Some brother coming and pressuring you and all this, you're like, something is up. Something nefarious is afoot. Let me get out of here. Blocked. Moving on. This is how Seth operates because of that spirit of Abel. A strange person coming and talking to you and kept pressuring you. Kept doing it without stopping. If he was a righteous man, he would be like, oh yeah, you're right. Go and talk to Adam. Talk to Eve. Talk to them. Everything would be all good. A wicked man is, no. In secret. No. You need to do it right now. It's all this pressure. All these stipulations to it. And he's trying to make it work even when it's not working. Whereas a righteous person won't do that. He's like, man, this is wicked. And ran and left. Read on.
Satan was thirsty.
Yeah. Thirsty Satan. Let's read on.
And went up to the altar and spread his hands unto Abba Yahweh and sought deliverance from him.
So now we see how that spirit of Abel was working. Let me run away from this wickedness and give up an oblation once again. Sought deliverance from Satan. He knew at that point, this is not of Abba, this is Satan. Let's read on.
Verse 12. Then Abba Yahweh sent his word and cursed Satan, who fled from him. But as for Seth, he had gone up to the altar, saying thus in his heart, the altar is a place of offering, and Abba Yahweh is there. A divine fire shall consume it. So shall Satan be unable to hurt me, and shall not take me away thence.
All right, let's move over to the 8th chapter for time's sake. Now we see Seth with that righteous spirit, that spirit of his deceased brother Abel upon him, recognizing Abba's oblations are holy, do not defile that, and in doing so, a fire from heaven will come down and consume my offering and rebuke Satan. Same thing that Abel received. As we already showed, through faith, Abel offered a more acceptable sacrifice to Abba. So did Seth with that same spirit upon him. With that faith, that interaction with the spiritual realm, he offered an acceptable sacrifice and stood strong as an acceptable man unto the Heavenly Father. Let's go to the 8th chapter. Pick up in the first verse. Actually, for time's sake, let's go to the 6th verse.
Then our father Adam blessed them all and said to Seth, after he had blessed them.
So this is Adam, before he's about to die, brings forth a blessing upon Seth and all of the children. We talked about this also last week. Let's read on.
Verse 7. O Seth, my son, thou knowest this world, that is full of sorrow and of weariness. And thou knowest all that has come upon us from our trials in it. I therefore command thee in these words, to keep innocency, to be pure and just and trusting in Abba Yahweh, and lean not to the discourses of Satan, nor to the apparitions in which he will show himself to thee.
He said, maintain that good and righteous spirit, that spirit of Abel. Maintain that, and don't be like Cain, who gave ear to Satan and his distractions and his apparitions. Let's read on.
Verse 8. But keep the commandments that I give thee this day. Then give the same to thy son Enos, and let Enos give it to his son Canaan, and Canaan to his son Mahalalel, so that this commandment abide firm among all your children. O Seth, my son.
Now jump down to the 15th verse.
Verse 15. Then again, sever thy children and thy children's children from Cain's children. Do not let them ever mix with those, nor come near them either in the words or in their deeds. Now
we see, as we mentioned last week, that separation, that division between righteousness and wickedness, between Abel's spirit and Cain's spirit. Do not let them mix, not let them come together. Unfortunately, we see through the flood, they had to come back together. But for us today, we must always seek after this spirit of Abel and reject the spirit of Cain, that spirit that causes us to kill our brother, to hate the offerings, and to seek violence and wickedness. Because, as we already mentioned, the spirit of Abel is coming forth to bring forth destruction upon the spirit of Cain. we see a separation must be had. Let's drop that. Let's move on. Let's go to Jasher, pick up in the 61st verse, or 61st chapter. We'll pick up in the first verse. We talked about last week how the spirit of Cain began to move throughout different millennia and different groups of people. We showed how it went from Cain and his offspring, his direct offspring. We showed Lamech the blind, how he was wicked. And even though he didn't even want to do wickedness, that spirit of Cain was upon him. He just accidentally killed Cain, then accidentally killed his son. Violence just followed him wherever he went. Then we showed Ginon, Lamech's son, how he brought forth all types of wickedness upon the earth. And he did so seeking to bring forth condemnation upon the sons of Seth, to remove that spirit of Abel out of the earth. We showed how that spirit jumped to many other right or wicked patriarchs, going all the way down to Esau, and how he had that same spirit, seeking to kill his brother, seeking to get his birthright back. And in doing so, the Most High set forth a curse upon Amalek, that same spirit of Cain upon him. He will receive the same judgment that was upon Cain from the beginning, that he will be utterly destroyed and eradicated out of the earth, and he will have a covenant of violence for the rest of these 7,000 years. And we show who those people are today on several occasions. Now, let's go and follow the spirit of Abel and see that throughout these righteous lineages, these godly people that stood strong against the spirit of Cain. Let's go to Joshua chapter 61, pick up in the first verse.
And it came to pass at the time Pharaoh, king of Egypt, commanded all his people to make for him a strong palace in Egypt. And he also commanded the sons of Jacob to assist the Egyptians in the building. And the Egyptians made a beautiful and elegant palace for a royal habitation. And he dwelt therein, and he renewed his government, and he reigned securely.
So we see this is before the children of Israel became servants in Egypt, before the Egyptians started to hate the children of Israel. They worked together in righteousness because of Joseph and his righteous standings amongst the Egyptians, and his prophecies that he revealed to the Pharaoh. Now, before we get into the spirit of Abel, we have to see somebody else who had the spirit of Cain upon him. Let's jump to the 5th verse.
Verse 5. And Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau.
Now, once again, we see that lineage of Esau coming to rise up again against the righteous lineage. Let's read on.
Captain of the host, Angeas, king of Dinhabah, was still daily enticing Angeas to prepare for battle, to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt.
Once again, Esau just seeking for no reason, just to go to war with Jacob, following after his father's footsteps, following after Amalek's footsteps. Let's just go to war because they stole our birthright. Let's go and kill them in Egypt before they can go and get their own land. Let's read on.
And Angeas was unwilling to do this thing, for his servants had related to him all the might of the sons of Jacob, what they had done unto them in their battle with the children of Esau. Verse 6. And Zepho was in those days daily enticing Angeas to fight with the sons of Jacob in those days.
So this man of Esau, these group of Edomites, were seeking so hard to fight the children of Israel, mostly because of this man, Zepho, just seeking daily, consistently to go to war with the children of Israel. Even though the king was like, nah, I ain't with that. I'm not really trying to do that. I see how the spirit of the Heavenly Father is upon them, and they will smite us. Let's read on.
Verse 7. And after some time, Angeas hearkened to the words of Zepho and consented to him to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt.
And that daily, consistent enticement wore him down, and he finally gave in and said, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's go to war. Once again, you can't tolerate evil for a moment because it will metastasize and grow into some high wickedness. Let's read on.
And Angeas got all his people in order, a people numerous as the sand which is upon the seashore, And he formed his resolution to go to Egypt to battle. And amongst the servants of Angeas was a youth 15 years old.
So amongst these Edomites of the lineage of Eliphaz, same father to Amalek, there was a young man that had some great prowess. They said, bring that young man up. Bring him up because we need to see something. Who was that young man?
Balaam.
Balaam. Son of who?
Beor.
Balaam coming up on the scene even before the children of Israel made their exodus. Balaam, a young man, rose up to do what?
The youth was very wise and understood the art of witchcraft.
As a young man. Just like Seth rose up as a young man doing righteousness, just like Gideon as a young man received wickedness. Balaam too, of that same wicked lineage, was a young man in this Edomite army, the armies of Esau, and rose up to do some witchcraft. Read on.
Verse 9. And Angeas said unto Balaam, conjure for us, I pray thee, with the witchcraft, that we may know who will prevail in this battle to which we are now proceeding.
Give us your divination. Go into the heavens through your pagan wicked sacrifices and tell us if we can win against Israel or not. Let's go to the 64th chapter. The result was, no, we cannot win. So they did not go to war. But let's follow this man, Balaam, of the lineage of Esau, and see how that wickedness, that spirit of Cain, was upon him. 64:1.
And Balaam, the son of Beor, was at the time with Agnes in battle. When he saw that Zepho prevailed over Angeas, he fled from there and came to Chittim.
All right, so now we're skipping over a good bit of details. Zepho, who was the captain of the guard, separated himself from Angeas and then came back and went to war. And Balaam was with Angeas. When he saw that war wasn't going his way, he said, I'm out. Dude had no loyalty whatsoever. Just went with the winning side. If you are winning, I'm over with you. Whatever I can do to preserve myself. Went out to Chittim. Went to a whole new nation. Read on.
Verse 2. And Zepho and the children of Chittim received him with great honor.
So when Zepho went to the children of Chittim and took them over and went to war with Angeas and was prevailing, Balaam said, I'm out. Jumped ship and went over to the winning side. And now he was with them and they received him with great honor. Read on.
For Zepho knew Balaam's wisdom.
He knew his witchcraft and the power that he had. And did what?
And Zepho gave unto Balaam many gifts, and he remained with him.
Many gifts. Gave him abundance of gifts and goodness so that he could continue to do his divination and his enchantments against whoever he will. Let's go now to the 67th chapter. Let's pick it up in the 8th verse and continue to follow Balaam's life. Jasher chapter 67, verse 8.
And it was after the death of the king of Chittim that Balaam, the son of Beor, fled from the land of Chittim, and he went and came to Egypt, to Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Look at that. This man is a little snake. First he's with the Edomites, with Esau, with Angeas. Oh, now he's with Chittim and Zepho. Oh, now after he died and he's losing, let me go to the Egyptians. This man's just going to whoever is strong. Sounds like somebody we know. Anybody who knows the history of Amalek, you see how they were invading Germany by droves and taking over. And when they saw Germany wasn't looking too hot, let's go to the UK. And let's use them for whatever we want. Oh, now let's go to America. Now let's go here. And they start invading and taking root in any nation they can to exert their will. This is that spirit of Cain. There is no loyalty. There is no dedication. All it is let me use my enchantment to get what I want. And that is exactly what the children of Amalek do to this very day. And in doing so, received great gifts. $100 billion worth of gifts going all the way out to the land of Amalek for no reason other than they can enchant and bring forth accusations against the sons of Abel, those with the spirit of Abel upon them. Let's see how this son of Esau, Balaam, operated in Egypt. Read on.
The book of Jasher, chapter 67 and verse 9. And Pharaoh received him with great honor, for he had heard of his wisdom, and he gave him presents and made him for a counselor and aggrandized him.
Once again, he received him with great honor. Come on over. I heard about you. Come on over, Balaam. We could use you. We can make some enchantments against whoever we will and bring forth destruction upon them. Balaam was there even in Egypt. Let's jump down to the 18th verse.
Verse 18. And Balaam, the son of Beor, answered the king and said unto him, this means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days.
So now we see Balaam doing his enchantments once again. We skipped over the part where Pharaoh had a dream about essentially the children of Israel rising up and taking his power and destroying Egypt as a great kingdom. And Balaam, through his divination, interpreted that. Said, Pharaoh, man, somebody's coming to take your power. Let's read on.
Verse 19. For a son will be born to Israel.
It is Israel. It is Jacob that is seeking to topple Egypt. Pharaoh, you need to do something about that. You want to keep your power? You like being in rulership? You need to do something about that. Let's read on.
Who will destroy all Egypt and its inhabitants and bring forth the Israelites from Egypt with a mighty hand. Now therefore, O king, take counsel upon this matter, that you may destroy the hope of the children of Israel and their expectation before this evil arise against Egypt.
Now we see why the Egyptians changed their perspective on the children of Israel. We read it in Genesis how Joseph was over there and they loved the children of Israel. They gave them their own territory. They set them up as righteous men in Goshen. And then all it says is that essentially as they grew larger, the mindset started to shift. They started to hate the children of Israel. But this is why. Pharaoh dreamed a dream. Balaam came in his ear like Satan. You got to do something about these Israelites, man. They're a threat to your whole kingdom. And this is the exact same thing that's going on today. Don't think it any different. Let's read on.
Verse 21. And the king said unto Balaam, and what shall we do unto Israel? Surely after a certain manner did we first counsel against them and could not prevail over them.
He said, okay, Balaam, tell me what we should do with Israel. Let's jump down for time's sake to the 44th verse. Verse 44.
And the king said unto Balaam, what dost thou say, Balaam? Speak thy word, that we may hear it. And Balaam said to the king, of all that the king has counseled against the Hebrews, will they be delivered, and the king will not be able to prevail over them with any counsel. For if thou thinkest to lessen them by the flaming fire, thou cannot prevail over them. For surely their God delivered Abraham, their father, from Ur of the Chaldeans.
Look at that. Not only was he an enchanter, but he studied our history. He knew our culture. Said, oh, you want to do fire? Nah, fire won't work. Fire is what they use to offer their sacrifices. And if Abba has chosen them, it's not going to work. Look what happened to Abraham. Abraham was put in the fire and was delivered. You're not going to win with fire. Read on.
And if thou thinkest to destroy them with a sword, surely Isaac their father was delivered from it, and a ram was placed in his stead.
Nah, I know the history about Isaac. Abraham was about to kill him with the sword, but the Most High sent a ram in place of that. You're not going to win with the sword. Jump down to verse 49. We see that he knew our history. He knew what was going on with us. He had studied us, but still in the background was enchanting against us, seeking counsel from a wicked spirit, that spirit of Cain, on how to slay and kill us. And what was the counsel that he received through his divination? Verse 49.
If it please a king, let him order all their children, which shall be born from this day forward, to be thrown into the water. For by this canst thou wipe away their name. For none of them, nor of their fathers, were tried in this manner.
We tried fire, we tried the sword, try water. Drown every single one of them. Drown all the males. And that way, that prophesied one won't be able to come up because he's going to be at the bottom of a river somewhere. He's going to be at the bottom of the Nile. Do that, and you shall prevail. All this came from Balaam. This wasn't the Egyptians thinking about this. This was that diviner, the sons of Esau, that came up and said, let me teach you what to do. Let me show you about their history. I was there. I was with Isaac. I can tell you everything that they've been through. Fire won't work. Sword won't work. Let's try drowning. I got this straight from the spiritual realm. Satan gave it to me like he gave it to Gideon. And he went and they did it. We already know. Most of us already know the history. They went and did this. But we know that Moses survived. Let's go to Joshua chapter 70. Let's pick up in the first verse, priest. And pick it up looking at the righteous lineage. We see that spirit of Cain working once again upon Balaam and every nation that he went to. We talked about this last week too, how the earthly people of the earth, Eretz, primal people, they are just receiving whoever's in power. If there's wicked people in power, they will follow the wicked. If Gideon was in power, they will follow Gideon. If Enoch was in power to do righteousness, they will follow Enoch. When Joseph was in charge of Egypt, they followed to do righteousness. But when Balaam came with that spirit of Cain, they went and did wickedness. So now the Most High rose up another and gave him that spirit of Abel, namely Moses. Let's read on.
The book of Joshua, chapter 70, and verse 1. And in the 3rd year from the birth of Moses, Pharaoh was sitting at a banquet with APPAREL. The queen was sitting at his right, and Bethia at his left. And the lad Moses was lying upon her bosom, and Balaam the son of Beor with his 2 sons, and all the princes of the kingdom were sitting at the table in the king's presence.
All right, jump down to verse 20. So we're not going to go through it in detail, but we see Moses, being a 3-year-old, a toddler, went up and reached for the Pharaoh's crown and grabbed it off his head. Said, "This is mine, buddy." And they thought, he's joking, he's playing. They thought this was his child at the time. They just like, that's funny. But Balaam came back and said, "Nah, man, this is the dream you had a few years back. Don't play with this boy. He is a Hebrew and he will take your kingdom." This was something that we prophesied would happen. And I told you what to do. You need to do it. What did Balaam now come back and say about Moses? Verse 20.
And Balaam said to the king, "Let us moreover call for all the judges of Egypt and the wise men thereof, and let us know if the judgment of death is due to this boy, as thou didst say, and then we will slay him."
Balaam's counsel was, take this infant Moses before his dude could even talk and slit his throat and bash his brains in. Remember, my forefather Cain did this to Abel, and it worked for a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that again. Kill this young baby, and you can keep your power. You won't be threatened by Moses. We see the spirit of Cain working on Balaam once again to bring forth that destruction upon the spirit of Abel. Let's drop that. Let's go to the 34th verse and pick it up again and see how that spirit of Abel rested upon Moses.
The book of Joshua, chapter 70, and verse 34. And he daily went forth and came into the land of Goshen, where his brethren, the children of Israel, were. And Moses saw them daily in shortness of breath and hard labor. And Moses asked him, saying, "Wherefore is this labor meted out unto you day by day. And they told him of all that had befallen them, and all the injunctions which Pharaoh had put upon them before his birth.
So Moses grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, but he never forgot where he came from. And he went back and saw the children of Israel dwelling in servitude and bondage. He said, what's going on? Why is this the case? The Egyptians are partying and laughing, and they do their labor, but they enjoy life. Why is it that we are the deplorables and lowest of the low? They came back and said, man, it's Pharaoh, man. Pharaoh does not like us. Pharaoh put these bondages upon us. And not just Pharaoh, but who else?
Verse 37, and they told him all the counsels which Balaam the son of Beor had counseled against them, and what he had also counseled against him in order to slay him when he had taken the king's crown from off his head.
They told him also how Balaam, the Edomite, was enchanting against them and counseled the Pharaoh against them and said, this has all come upon us through Pharaoh because Balaam was in his ear with that same spirit of Cain and told them to oppress us so we don't rise up and become a strong nation. Also, he counseled Pharaoh to come and kill you when you took his crown. Let's look at Moses, what he said.
Verse 38, and when Moses heard these things, his anger was kindled against Balaam.
Moses didn't take that lightly. Moses was angry, vengeful against Balaam. And Moses probably grew up amongst Balaam. Every time in the palace, passing by Balaam, Balaam probably just gave him a look. I know who you are. Just moved on. And Moses probably thought nothing of it. But at that point, he knew who Balaam was. This is the spirit of Cain upon the earth. And what did Moses seek to do?
And he sought to kill him.
Just like we saw that spirit of Abel doing. Cain killed me. Curse Cain, Abba. You see what he did. Bring forth vengeance upon him. Moses rose up like, I am about to strangle this dude in his sleep. Let's read on.
Continuing in verse 38. And he was in ambush for him day by day.
And this is the righteous Moses. Every single day sought to kill Balaam. This is how that spirit of Abel operates on the righteous. We go day by day, bringing forth the offerings and the accusations against the wicked. A day does not go by when we do not recognize that Cain and that spirit has brought forth great abominations upon the earth, and we seek to destroy it every single day. Because the spirit of Cain is on them to destroy us every single day. We skipped over the part where Balaam, every single day, was enchanting against us. How many of those with the spirit of Cain would go daily into the temple through the spirit of Cain and sought to accuse the righteous, those that had the spirit of Abel upon them. The spirit of Abel tells us to do the same thing. Don't let them kill the saints and just let that go by. Go in that temple daily and seek to bring forth death upon the spirit of Cain. One of us is going to win out. But the beautiful thing is already been prophesied that Abel and his spirit will overcome Cain and his spirit. Let's read on.
Verse 39. And Balaam was afraid of Moses, and he and his 2 sons rose up and went forth from Egypt, and they fled and delivered their souls and betook themselves to the land of Cush, to Hyrcanus, king of Cush.
So we see Balaam already knew, I got no power against this man. I'm quaking in my boots. Let me get up and leave. And we see him doing the same serpentine things that he was doing before. Let me get out in the cover of night and flee. And let me go to his other nation. Let me go to Cush and start counseling them and take them over so I can start bringing forth my wiles and my enchantments. Let's drop that. I know everybody's trying to get back to the 66. Let's go to Numbers chapter 22. We'll pick up in the first verse, priest. We see Balaam being an important figure for wickedness way before Numbers. He was there as a young man when Simeon was still around, when Zebulun was still alive, rose up as a young man to bring forth accusations against the sons of Jacob. Now, let's go over to the Exodus. We already see this fight between the spirit of Abel, which was upon Moses at this time, and that spirit of Cain, which is upon Balaam. Let's go to Numbers chapter 22. Let's pick up in the first verse.
And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho. And Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at the time.
All right, so now we see the Moabites coming on the scene. They saw how Israel was smiting every nation that they came across. We saw how they killed the Amorites, how they killed the Jebusites, how they killed the Amalekites. Now Moab is like, man, we got to do something about this. I'm trying to keep my land and my power. What do?
Verse 5. He sent messengers, therefore, unto Balaam the son of Beor, to Pethor.
The same person. How did he know? This is in the canonized Bible, the first time we see Balaam come on the scene. He's just a random person. But we see Balaam had a long history of divination, of witchcraft, and not just in general, but against the children of Israel. He said, man, I like what you did in Egypt. Man, you gave Pharaoh that counsel to throw all them babies in the water. That's some nice counsel right there. I like that. Come over here to the Moabites and let's see what we can do against the children of Israel today. Let's read on.
Continuing in verse 5. Which is by the river, the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people.
Come and do your witchcraft and your divinations to bring forth curses upon these people. All of us like to talk about Deuteronomy 28, but those curses don't just come out of nowhere. They come through these enchanters that are seeking to destroy us. These are none other than those sons of Amalek, not just Esau, but that specific lineage that has received the spirit of Cain. They know how to get at us. And we talked about that. We talked about who they are. We talked about what they do. We talked about how they maintain every industry. I sent you a video about how all these people that are in these industries come from that quote-unquote Jewish lineage. Everybody knows about quote-unquote the hub. If you know, you know. All those wicked places you see on the internet started by Amalekites. One dude started all that to pollute your chamber of imagery. So you go and watch that and do that stuff, and he can bring accusations against you. Accuse them, curse these people and everything. Those people that are creating drugs and bringing it into our neighborhood. Where do you think Ronald Reagan got the understanding to bring forth crack into our neighborhood? It was none other than somebody with that spirit of Cain, somebody like Balaam, say, you know what we can do, man? These people are strung out on drugs. Ain't no way they're going to give oblations. Let's bring them this crack, this cocaine from Nicaragua and Colombia and make sure they destroy themselves. Let's read on.
Numbers chapter 22 and verse 6. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hands.
Same thing all these other kings did. We saw how Angeas brought forth the rewards of divination, how Zepho went and brought forth rewards, how Pharaoh went and brought forth great rewards and gave it to Balaam. So too did Midian. They knew they couldn't come empty-handed. Here you go, Balaam, his riches, his power, his glory. Here's my Federal Reserve. Go and take that over. And all you need to do is enchant these people so I can stay in power. Curse these people so I can stay in power. great rewards in their hand, and came and said, all you got to do is curse these people. That's it. Let me stay in power, curse these Israelites, and I'll stay in power. Let's move over to the 25th chapter and pick up in the first verse. Tom wanted for us to go through this in detail. But Balaam went up, gave his witchcraft-filled oblations, and tried to accuse the children of Israel. And he came back filled with the Spirit to bless them. And he did that 7 times. And Balak was upset. Like, I told you to curse these people. Like, there's no wickedness found amongst them. I can't curse them for no reason. I can't bring Deuteronomy 28 for no reason. There has to be a reason first. Satan can't just enter into them and wreak havoc. There has to be something done first. So what did they do? Numbers chapter 25 and 1.
And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their deities, and the people did eat and bow down to their deities.
Balaam said, I got an idea. My forefather, Gideon, that same spirit that was on him was on me. If I can entice them, children of Seth, with that same spirit of Abel, with scantily clad women, with whores, I can get them to come down from their greatness. And they'll be so enthralled, I can tell them to do whatever, and they'll do it. Tell them to go and bow down to this idol, and they surely will, so they can get them some. And they went and did it. Sent some whores from Midian, from Moab, looking all good in the sight of Israel. As soon as they ate the sacrifice of idols, Balaam was in the back enchanting, accusing. It was his own device, and he accused them for that. Let's read on.
Verse 3. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Most High was kindled against Israel.
And as we mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, this is what they are doing today. Don't think that Balaam went to the Edomites and taught them how to do this. Don't think that he taught the Canaanites how to do this. And then the Pharaoh, the Egyptians, how to do it. Then went to Cush and told them how to do that. And then went to Moab and taught them how to do it. And then he just stopped. And he never went and taught anybody else to do this. Of course he did. He left Egypt with his 2 sons. He taught his sons, and they carried it on. And they kept carrying it on. And every nation that they were with learned this. How do you think the Greeks learned about our history and culture and knew to set the abomination of desolation because it would make us desolate? They had a far distant relative from Balaam. He said, let me teach you something, man. Let me show you something, Alexander, Antiochus. Let me show you what to do, all right? Get them to transgress. Then I can come with my divination, and they'll be cursed, and you'll be reigning forever. And this is what they've been doing from the beginning. This is that same spirit of Cain seeking to kill and destroy the spirit of Abel. Let's read on.
Numbers chapter 25 and verse 4. And the Most High said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Most High against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Most High may be turned away from Israel. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye everyone his men that were joined unto Baal Peor.
And this is that severe, harsh judgment that was given. You bind yourself to their idols. You went down the mountain like Azazel, like Semjaza. Go ahead and die with the sons of Cain. That has no place here on this earth. As we brought out last week, the spirit of Cain has no other purpose but to destroy and to punish the wicked. This is Satan's whole goal, is to bring forth destruction on the righteous so that the Most High can just throw up his hands and say, okay, Satan, come on back up to heaven. Nobody left has that spirit of Abel upon them. And it's going to fail. Just like the Most High raised up Seth to take Abel's place, so the Most High will do to anybody that does wickedness. As the Messiah said, don't say I'm the sons of Abraham. The Most High got to choose me. They can raise up rocks and say they're the sons of Abraham. Don't say I'm the son of Jacob, Most High got to choose me. No, he can raise up a rock to come up and grow some arms, and he even wave and give up oblations. Let's jump now to the 16th verse. We see Balaam and the spirit of Cain and his wicked device that it brought against the sons of righteousness, those with the spirit of Abel upon them, brought them down the mountain like it did to Seth, and caused them to die the death. Now, the righteous man, Moses, with that spirit of Abel upon him, what was the response after this was done?
Numbers chapter 25 and verse 16. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Vex the Midianites and smite them.
Vex the Midianites, smite them, not with the sword, but with accusations. Read on.
Verse 18. For they vex you with their wiles, wherewith they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a prince Midian, their sister, which was slain in the day of the plague for Peor's sake.
He said, vex them. Balaam sought to accuse you. He went in the courts every single day to accuse you. You go up in the courts, Moses, and bring accusations against them, and I will hear your cry. Do what Abel's spirit did when Cain went and viciously slew him. His spirit rose up and said, it was him, Abba. Cain, bring that covenant of curses and destruction. Let him have no ties to righteousness. The Most High went and said, you spoke well, Abel. Cain, get out of my sight, you a bastard. Go over there with Satan and die the death. I will destroy you in the end of the 7,000 years. I promise Adam, I would save him. You can go and join yourself with Satan, who I promised he will be destroyed at the end of this curse. This is what the spirit of Abel causes us to do. We don't just sit back and let this wickedness happen. We don't just sit back and say, well, it was me. No, we go in the courts and we fight. The spirit of Abel causes us to rise up and say, it was them, Abba. You see them wicked Amalekites bring forth accusations. They have the spirit of Balaam upon them. They have the spirit of Cain upon them. Do unto them what you said you would do to Cain. Do unto them what you said you would do to Satan. And do unto us what you promised to do to Adam and to Abel and to Seth and to Enos and so on and so forth. Everyone who stood up in righteousness. Let's move on. Let's drop that. Let's go to 2 Kings. And we'll pick up in the first verse, priest. We'll show how, just like the spirit of Cain was moving upon other people throughout these different times and points in this millennia, we'll see how the spirit of Abel also rose up and went upon those that would bring forth this righteous lineage. 2 Kings chapter 1, pick up at the first verse.
Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. And Uzziah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, the deity of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease.
So now we see the children of the spirit of Cain even upon Israel. Israel, their king, saying, go to this idol and petition the idol to see if I will survive, if I'll heal from my disease, from my sickness. Let's read on.
Verse 3. But the angel of the Most High said to Elijah the Tishbite.
Now we see another righteous man with that spirit of Abel upon him. Most High sent for the angel. Go and rise up. Go and talk to this wicked king and tell him what the judgment is. Read on.
Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron?
So he said, don't you know Abba Yahweh is in Israel and you are inquiring amongst these heathen wicked idols? Let me tell you about the judgment that's going to happen upon you because of your wickedness, because you have that spirit of Cain upon you. Read on.
Verse 4. Now therefore, thus saith the Most High, thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed.
Elijah dropped the mic, just walked away. Said, nah, man, you ain't going to recover from that. Because you didn't trust in Abba, because you trusted in the idols of these other nations, death shall be upon you. Jump down to the 9th verse.
Verse 9. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50. And he went up to him, and behold, he sat on top of a hill. And he spake unto them, Thou man of Abba, the king hath said, Come down.
So now they're coming proud and with great pompous through this man that had the spirit of Cain and said, Spirit of Cain said, Come down. Come on down, Elijah. What did this man righteous with the spirit of Abel do?
Verse 10. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of Abba Yahweh, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50.
Just like fire came down upon Abel and his sacrifice, fire came down on behalf of Elijah as he accused these that came against the saints and brought forth death and destruction upon them. Let's read on.
Verse 11. Again also he sent up unto him another captain of 50 with his 50. And he answered and said unto him, O man of Abba Yahweh, thus hath the king said, Come down quickly.
Now he came back a little more humble, but still boastful. All right, now it's the king now. Stop playing them games. Go ahead and come on down, Elijah. Read on.
Verse 12. And Elijah answered and said unto them, If I be a man of Abba Yahweh, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And the fire of Abba Yahweh came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50.
And just like fire came down upon Abel and his sacrifice, fire came down from heaven on behalf of Elijah and consumed all of those wicked that sought to oppress him. Now let's read on.
Verse 13. And he sent again a captain of the third 50.
And dude just don't learn. Ahaz does not learn. Let's read on.
With his 50. And the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of Abba Yahweh, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50, thy servants, be precious in thy sight.
Now he came humble and bowed down to him and said, I confess you are the man of Abba. Please don't kill me. My king sent me a command. I'm just doing it. I'm just following orders. But please, let my life be precious in your sight. And this is the same power that those with the spirit of Abel will have. You come up and rise up against the saints. I don't have to lift up a sword. I don't got to lift up a gun, nothing. Let fire from heaven come and consume Amalek. And it will come down and consume them. And they come up and send another army. Abba, send forth fire from heaven, consume them. They learn, and the remainder of Esau that's been beat down and bruised in Egypt too, will come and say, all right, I confess. You Israel, all right, I'll confess. Please, you put some respect on my name. We are the sons of Abel. The spirit of Abel is upon us. Put some respect on that name. And they came down and said, all right, I will plead with you. I confess, you are the sons of Abba. The same thing we read in the prophecies that the Messiah gave in Revelation. Even those, the synagogue of Satan, that claims to be Jews and are not, will bow down and say, it's you. I confess, it's you. I've learned my lesson. That fire is too much for me to bear. I have learned my lesson. I confess that you are the righteous, that the spirit of Abel is upon you, and I have received the spirit of Cain.
And priest, I was, reading this. It's like, some of the soldiers in that second 50, it's like, bro, you didn't see that fire come from heaven? Hey, let's rethink this, but
yeah,
it's like, whoa.
And it still got consumed though, because he was still proud. He was like a little shook, but he came with a different tone. Still wasn't right. Mm-hmm. That third came begging and pleading, and the spirit came to Elijah. The angel came and said, all right, they learned the lesson. Go ahead, go down with them. Let's drop that. Let's go over to the next chapter. We see the spirit of Elijah, how he had that righteous, godly, fervent spirit upon him. Now, let's look at his end. 2 Kings 2:1.
And it came to pass when the Most High would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal.
So now Elisha, his protege, was with him, and a message was given to Elijah. Same thing that was given to Enoch. You did well. You ruled and governed the earth well. Come up to heaven and govern there. Let's read on.
Verse 2. And Elijah said unto Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Most High has sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, as the Most High liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel.
This sounds very reminiscent of what we read in Jasher about Enoch. When Enoch was teaching the proud people of the earth, and he got a message that he had to get taken up, he left, and they followed him. And Enoch told him, no, stay where you are. Go back home. I might be taken up, and you might be put to death. And they're like, nah, I'm going wherever you go. Only death will separate us. Elisha had that same spirit upon him. Only death will separate me and Elijah. Let's read on.
Verse 3. And the son of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that the Most High will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Most High has sent me to Jericho. And he said, as the Most High liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho.
So wherever Elijah went, Elisha was behind him. He was like, I am not separating from this righteous light that's upon the earth. Everything else is wickedness and abominations, but right here is light. Here is the spirit of Abel. Let's read on.
Verse 5. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that the Most High will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, yea, I know it. Hold your peace. And Elijah said unto him, tarry, I pray thee, here, for the Most High has sent me to Jordan. And he said, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they too went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off, and they too stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. And it came to pass when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee.
So Elijah said, all right, man, you've been faithful and diligent. Ask whatever you want, and I will give it to you. What was Elisha's response?
And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a
Did he say, I pray for $1,000? I pray to hit the lotto. Give me that. I need that money in my life. What did he pray for?
I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me.
That spirit of Abel is upon you. Give me a double portion of that. Let me be Abel 2.0. Let me not be like Abel. Let me be like Seth. Put that spirit upon me. And what was the response?
And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so.
He said, let the Most High judge. All right. Read on.
Verse 11. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces.
So he thought he missed his blessing. He no longer saw Elijah. He said, I missed it. This great blessing. I'm about to be with the sons of Cain. Let's read on.
Verse 13. He took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell upon him and smote the waters and said, where is the Most High Abel of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted thither and hither, and Elisha went over.
So he saw, taking the mantle, probably thinking it's just going to be a memento, thinking he missed his blessing, came forth and cried unto Abba, smote the waters, and they separated. Same spirit that was upon Elijah was now upon Elisha. We see once again that spirit of Abel changing hands, going throughout these righteous generations. Let's read on.
Verse 15. And when the sons of the prophets were to view at Jericho saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him.
That spirit that was upon Elijah, and that was upon Moses, and that was upon Jacob and Isaac and Abraham and Noah and Seth and Abel is now upon Elisha. They bowed down before him and raised him up as the chief of the prophets. Come down to the 23rd verse. What else through this spirit was he able to do? Now we're skipping over a few miracles that he was able to do through that spirit. Let's look at this specific one.
2 Kings chapter 2 and verse 23. And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city and mocked him.
All right. So when we read this, we often think of like these 5-year-olds coming out pointing at Elisha, like he's a baldy. But when we look at the Hebrew, that word they have for children, sometimes they translate as children, sometimes they translate as servants. It's a lad, it's a attendant. It's the lower of the people. These servants came out and mocked him, not just pointing at him, making fun of him, trying to accuse him, trying to enchant against him. Read on.
And said unto him, go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head.
Chanting, repeating these enchantments against him, seeking to curse Elisha. And what did he do?
Verse 24. And he turned back and looked on them and cursed them in the name of the Most High.
Look back and say, you got the spirit of Cain upon you. I know you just a young servant of Israel, but curse you because you have that spirit of Cain upon you. Then what happened?
And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood and tear 42 children of them.
Came bears out of the woods and massacred them. Massacred those that had the spirit of Cain upon them. Vicious bears. What are you even trying to get food? Because if they were, they could have killed one and been straight. They killed 42 of them. I bet Elisha came and petted him. Good boy. Treat him like a little dog. Good little bear. Nice little grizzly. And just went on about his day. They're like, I'm not going to hurt you. You got the spirit of Abel upon you. But those with the spirit of Cain, you're going to meet your maker.
You did a good job, Smokey.
Yeah. Smokey the bear. You smoked them, all right? Let's drop that. Let's go over to 2 Kings 8 and 24. We see that spirit of Abel upon Elijah to bring forth the curse and the punishment upon those that were doing the will of Satan. And Elijah or Elisha coming back to do the same thing, had that same spirit to offer oblations and worship to Abba, but also to come and bring forth death and destruction upon those that have joined themselves to that covenant of violence that was given to Cain. Let's see another one who was doing the same thing. Let's go and see Zechariah, another righteous man that stood strong with that spirit of the Heavenly Father upon him, receiving the same spirit that was upon all of these righteous men before him. But before we do that, we got to get a little background to the situation that's going on. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 24.
And Joram slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Uzziah, his son, reigned in his stead. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Uzziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, began to reign. 22 years old was Uzziah, and he began to reign. And he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel.
So now we see a similar thing that was going on in the times of what we read earlier, Lamech and Canaan, the righteous and the wicked lineage. You see the Most High separating Israel and them becoming fully engulfed in wickedness, and him separating Judah and them trying to do righteousness, but a lot of times they fell short. And just like you had with Canaan's daughter marrying that seed of Cain, you had this blending of Israel, the wicked, and Judah, the righteous. Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel, who was high in wickedness, marrying one of the kings of Judah. Let's read on.
Verse 27. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab and did evil in the sight of the Most High.
So why did Ahaziah walk in the way of Ahab and do evil in the sight of Abel? Let's read on.
As did the house of Ahab, for he was a son-in-law of the house of Ahab.
He married into this wicked, abominable house. And Athaliah, his mother, taught him how to do all this wickedness. Let's show that. Let's go to 1 Kings 16:23. And we'll show you who this Omri is, who Athaliah. It already told us, but we'll get it with more, without a doubt, in 1 Kings 16:23.
1 Kings chapter 16 and verse 23. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, began Omri to reign over Israel 12 years. 6 years reigned he in Tisra. And he brought the hill of Samaria of Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and built on the hill, and called the name of the city which he built after the name of Shemer, owner of the hill Samaria. But Omri wrought evil in the eyes of the Most High, and did worse than all that were before him.
Omri did worse as a king than all of the other wicked kings that came before him. This was a greatly wicked person. And out of him came forth more wickedness. Let's read on.
For he walked in all the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and in his sin wherewith he made Israel to sin, to provoke the Most High Abba Yahweh of Israel to anger with their vanities. Now the rest of the acts of Omri which he did, and his might that he shewed, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Omri slept with his fathers, and he was buried in Samaria, and Ahab his son reigned in his stead.
And now out of Omri, this wicked king that did more wickedness than all the kings of Israel before him, begot Ahab. Now anybody who knows about Ahab knows how wicked he was. Let's read on.
Verse 29. And in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Ahab the son of Omri to reign over Israel. And Ahab the son of Omri reigned over Israel and Samaria 22 years. And Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of the Most High above all that were before him.
Now, he saw his father was the most wicked king to date. Ahab said, I got to top that. I got to do more wickedness than my father. Same spirit that was upon Cain. We see that it is not just exclusive to one nation. One nation is the chief and principal of the spirit of Cain, but it can come upon the true children of Israel too. And they can operate in that same mindset. Just like Gideon was like, my father was wicked. I got to top that. Let me beseech Satan to give me information on how to make drake houses, how to make soothing music that ravishes the heart, how to bring forth death and destruction upon the sons of Seth. Ahab was doing the same thing. What did Ahab do?
Verse 31. And it came to pass, if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Jezebel.
He also took Jezebel to wife. This is the Ahab that brought in Jezebel, who brought up the idols of Balaam and destroyed the temple of Abba. This is how his wickedness surpassed that of his father. And remember, we're not just talking about them, we're talking about Athaliah. It was his sister. She was the daughter of this same Omri, this great wicked king in Israel. And she now had been blended in with the lineage of Israel, of Judah, the lineage of David, to bring forth once again curses and death, just like the children of Cain did in mixing with the sons of Seth. Let's drop that. Let's go to 2 Kings 11. Let's pick up in the first verse. Let's look at the wickedness that was now pervasive because of this spirit of Cain that was now encroaching on the spirit of Abel.
And when Athaliah, the mother of Uzziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal.
That wickedness was upon her so great. When she saw that her son had died, she rose up and said, I'm going to be queen, and killed every single person of the branch of David that she could find. This is not just any random lineage. This is David's lineage. This is the chosen lineage. Went and killed every single one that she could find. And it was only because of one that lineage was preserved. Let's read on.
Verse 2. But H.O.W, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Uzziah, took Joash, the son of Uzziah, and stole him from among the king's sons.
You see even that spirit of Abel working upon the sisters. She was like, I ain't going to let this happen. She went and took Joash and stole him away so that Athaliah could not come and kill him and bring forth a complete end to this righteous lineage. She was trying to do the same thing that Cain was doing. If I can kill Abel, I can stop righteousness being upon the earth. Athaliah thought the same thing. If I can kill all of David's seed, I can stop righteousness from being upon the earth, and I can reign. But because the spirit of Abel was upon this sister, she went and took that lineage and preserved it. Let's read on.
And they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber of Athaliah, so that he was not slain.
That same spirit that was upon Balaam was upon her. He was still nursing, and she was going to kill him. He was a suckling, a baby. She was going to kill and mutilate him. Why should we be like Saul and not dash their babies into pieces when they sought to do the same to us? Now, I'm not going to raise up my hand and do it. The Most High will do it. The Most High will bring an end to the spirit of Cain that's upon the earth, because they sought to do the same thing to us. Let's read on.
Verse 3. And he was with her hid in the house of the Most High 6 years, and Athaliah did reign over the land. Verse 4.
So now Athaliah rose up as a queen in Israel, in Judah, and reigned in wickedness. It talked about, we're not going to be able to go through it for time's sake, but it talked about how she destroyed the house of Abel. She set up idols around the house. She decorated it with abominations. She didn't go as far as Manasseh, except the abomination of desolation, but she shut down the house of Abel and set up temples to wicked idols. She learned from her brother, Ahab, who learned from Jezebel. These wicked women rising up in tandem to bring forth destruction upon Israel and Judah through that spirit of Cain. But Jehoshaphat and, as we're going to see, Jehoiada rose up with that spirit of Abel to preserve righteousness. Let's read on.
Verse 4. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent and fetched the rulers over hundreds, with the captains and the guard, and brought them to him in the house of the Most High, and made a covenant with them, and took an oath of them in the house of the Most High, and showed them the king's son.
So they took an oath to serve and worship the Heavenly Father and get rid of this tyrannical reign. They said, look, we got one left of the lineage of David. Now, I know he's a young man. I know he's 7 years old, but this is him right here. Let's read on.
Verse 5. And he commanded them, saying, this is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you that enter in on the Sabbath shall even be the keepers of the watch of the king's house.
All right, for time's sake, there's a lot going on here, but let's jump down to the 12th verse.
And he brought forth the king's son and put the crown upon him and gave him the testimony.
Gave him the consecration, made him a king, a 7-year-old, and raised him up to topple Athaliah in her reign. Set up the righteous lineage once again. Let's read on.
And they made him king and anointed him. And they clapped their hands and said, Abba Yahweh, save the king. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into the temple of the Most High. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by a pillar, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced and blew with their trumpets. And Athaliah rent her clothes and cried, treason, treason.
Look at the delusion that's upon her. She went and killed all the sons of David, and now she's crying treason. I'm the queen, you're supposed to follow me. No, this is the righteous, godly, chosen ruler. And they were all praying and worshiping him, and we skipped over the part where Jehoiada set up guards and captains with the spears and the shields of David to fight and slay anybody that wanted to touch the last remaining person of the lineage of David. We will preserve the spirit of Abel upon the earth. Let's read on.
2 Kings chapter 11 and verse 15. But Jehoiada, the priest, commanded the captains of the hundreds, the officers of the host, and said unto them, have her forth without the ranges, and him that followeth her kill with the sword. For the priest had said, let her not be slain in the house of the Most High.
Jehoiada stood strong like Abel and said, take that wicked person with the spirit of Cain and put her to death. He was ready to do it on the spot. The priest had to slow him down and say, hold up, man, we don't do this in the temple. Let's bind her up and take her out. We'll take her by the back where the horse stables are and put her down, all right? Let's read on.
Verse 16. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by the which the horses came into the king's house, and there was she slain.
They put her down. This wicked, abominable spirit, they brought an end to that. Let's read on.
Verse 17. And Jehoiada made a covenant between the Most High and the king and the people, that they should be the Most High's people between the king also and the people.
So the Most High had the spirit upon Jehoiada to stand strong for righteousness, made a covenant, renewed the covenant again with the people, and between the king and Israel, or Judah in this case, and they all served the Heavenly Father, tore down all the idols that Athaliah set up, and brought forth righteousness again, just like Abel did, and as he perished, so did Seth do. Let's jump down to the 21st verse.
Verse 21. 7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign.
All right. Now let's go to 2 Chronicles 24 and 15. So now Jehoash was a young man, 7 years old when he began to reign. And he and Jehoiada, they reigned in righteousness together all his years. And Jehoiada lived a long time. He was one of the only few people I know of after Moses living to be 130. Because of his righteousness, because he stood strong. That spirit of Abel is upon him. And he stood up strong, and him and Jehoash ruled in righteousness. He counseled him as a young man and trained him up in the ways that he should go. Let's go to 2 Chronicles 24, pick up in the 15th verse.
But Jehoiada waxed old and was full of days when he died. 130 years old was he when he died. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, because he had done good in Israel, both toward Abba Yahweh and toward his house.
Now this priest, they buried amongst David and his lineage, buried him amongst the kings, attributed that spirit of Abel unto this righteous man. That wasn't his burial place, but they said put him there with David. Let's read on.
Verse 17. Now after the death of Jehoiada came the princes of Judah and made obeisance to the king. Then the king hearkened unto them. And they left the house of the Most High Abba Yahweh of their fathers, and served groves and idols. And wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this their trespass. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Most High, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear.
Now, here comes the spirit of Cain once again, creeping in. The strong man is gone. Let's go in and see if we can take over the righteous. And even though Jehoash, who went through all that, is still king, he got deceived. People came with counsel saying, man, he's still doing that stuff that old man Jehoiada was doing. Let's go over to Israel. They popping. Let's get it on with Israel. And let's start doing that wickedness. And they start setting up idols once again, set up groves and abominations and bow down to idols. Now here comes Zechariah. Let's read on.
Verse 40. And the spirit of the Most High came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith Abba.
So now we see in that 20th verse, we see Zechariah standing up. This is the son of Jehoiada, the righteous. His son stood up in righteousness and began to bring forth prophecy. That spirit had left Jehoiada and now was upon his son, and prophesied and said what?
Why transgress ye the commandments of the Most High, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken the Most High, he hath also forsaken you.
That's some hard words to hear. Imagine going to a Christian and saying, God ain't with you. I'm blessed and highly favored. No, you not. What do they want? They get upset. Look what happened with that, what was it, Watchmen for Israel in Chicago. When they were talking about Allah ain't real, them Palestinians got upset and they start brawling. Now, them brothers should operate with some more wisdom. Them brothers were off too. I'm not comparing them to the prophet Zechariah, this righteous man. They could have had some wisdom, but they did not. Now, when they started insulting their deity, they got upset and they started brawling in the streets. Children of Judah were doing the same thing to Zechariah. He said, what, brother? Most High ain't with me. The Most High is with me.
What?
He loves my Christmas tree.
Blessed and highly favored.
I'm blessed and highly. Don't tell me how I ain't with me. Now let me bow down and eat my turkey dinner. Thanksgiving. Let's read on.
Verse 21. And they conspired against him and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Most High.
That spirit of Cain was upon them. When Abel came up and said, what you're doing is wicked, they said, oh, no, it's not. Let me show you some wickedness, brother. Took some stones in the temple of Abba and killed him. Look how the priests operate in Jehoiada's day. They didn't want to kill a wicked person in the house of Abba. But these people went so off, they killed the righteous in the house of Abba. Read on.
Verse 22. Thus Joash, the king, remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada, his father, had done to him.
This was Jehoash commanding them to kill Jehoiada's son. Jehoiada was the one who preserved his lineage. He was the one who rose him back up to be king. He was the one who counseled him all his days and showed him the ways of righteousness. He just forgot that. That's how the spirit of Cain works. The spirit of Cain makes you forget the good turns that man have done to you. Forget all the goodness that has happened. And then something you don't like happens. They say something that offends you. And you're a wicked brother. Kill that brother. This is how the spirit of Cain works. And that spirit of Cain causes them to destroy that righteous lineage, as they sought to do to the children of Cain, or as Cain sought to do to Abel, and sought to do to Seth, and all those that will come through this righteous lineage and have the spirit of Abel upon them. Let's read on.
But slew his son, and when he died, he said, the Most High look upon it and require it.
So they sought to slay him. Read that verse again, actually.
2 Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 22. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, the Most High look upon it and require it.
So Jehoash went and slayed Zechariah, and as he lay there dying, he brought forth those accusations against them. He said, Abba sees this, and he will require it of you. Same thing Abel said to Cain. You going to slay me? Trust that Abba is going to require this of you. Oh, you slaying me. You actually doing it. Abba cursed Cain and destroy him and bring a covenant of condemnation upon him. Zechariah did the same thing. Curse these people that have the spirit of Cain upon them. It will be required of you, this blood that you shed. Now, why are we going through that? Why did we go through these specific prophets? Let's go to Matthew chapter 23, and let's pick it up in the first verse. We see not only the spirit of Abel working through these brothers in many different points in history, we also see the attributes of that spirit of Abel. Let's see the Messiah himself also talking about the same spirit. Matthew 23:1.
Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
So the Messiah is talking about the Pharisees. So they sit in where Moses' position was, acting like Moses, pretending to be like Moses, but in actuality they are wicked devils filled with demons. That spirit of Cain is upon them. Do what they say because they teach from the same book. Don't do what they do because they are hypocrites and they are liars. Read on.
Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
They lay on men burdens, and they themselves won't do it. They say, keep the Sabbath. Oh, it's 5 minutes before the Sabbath. You better shut down everything you do. Actually, we're going to start the Sabbath 6 hours early. You better stop doing that on the 6th day. But they're on the Sabbath working and doing whatever they want to do. They tell you what to do, and it's hard, it's burdensome, and you're trying your best to do it. And they're in the background doing wickedness. They're at home doing all manners of wickedness that they themselves wouldn't do. Let's read on. Actually, let's go to, let's pick up in the 28th verse.
Verse 28. Even so ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity.
These Pharisees appearing to be righteous, appearing to be that holy lineage, but inside of them is hypocrisy and sin. Let's read on.
Verse 29. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous.
So now we see that there's going to be a specific people with that spirit of Cain upon them, and they are going to be hypocrites, hypocritical, acting to be righteous, acting to be the chosen, saying, I'm the seed of Abraham. But in actuality, they are the seed of the devil. Who's doing that today? Who's claiming the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in Israel, when in actuality are full-blown devil and demon? Synagogues of Satan. Those with the spirit of Cain upon them. Those are that lineage of Amalek. Saying, I'm the chosen. In actuality, you are a devil and a demon in the flesh. The spirit of Cain is working through your fleshly body. Let's read on.
Verse 30. And say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets.
He said, you are the children of them that have killed the prophets, have killed the righteous lineage, had the spirit of Cain upon you where you sought to kill those that pleased Abba Yahweh. Read on.
Verse 33. Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?
He said that damnation of hell, the curses, the same punishment given to Satan, that is now attributed to you because you have done great wickedness. Read on.
Verse 34. Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth.
The Most High, through the Messiah, the Prince, is saying the same thing. You have killed the righteous, and that blood that you shed upon the earth, their righteousness will speak on their behalf and bring forth hell and damnation upon you, and you cannot escape it. Let's read on.
Verse 35, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar.
From the blood of Abel all the way down to Zacharias, every single person you have brought condemnation and accusation and enchantments against and sought to kill and persecute, they are in heaven bringing forth those accusations against you. Those sacrifices they offered in their lifetime are speaking on their behalf. This brother had a spirit of Cain upon him. Don't let him see the righteousness of Abba. Let damnation and the hell take hold on him, just like it will take hold of Cain, just like it will take hold of Gideon, just like it will take hold of Balaam and Balak and all of those of Amalek. Let it take hold on them. Let them have no inheritance amongst Abba. From the blood of Abel all the way down to Zacharias, every single one of them in between is speaking. That means Seth, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, every single one of them had that spirit of Abraham or spirit of Abel upon them. That means Elijah, Elisha, and all of these righteous men are speaking and saying what David said. Let his tabernacle be a snare unto him. Let his prayers be sin. Let Satan be at his right hand, and let him never depart. Let him have that curse of Cain upon them. This is what the spirit of Abel has charged us to do. Bring forth judgment. Charge Abba to bring forth judgment as he promised unto these wicked generation, these vipers and these spirits of sin that are working through the children of Cain. Let's drop that. Let's go to Luke chapter 11 and verse 5.
And he said unto them,
Luke chapter 1. Let's go to Luke 1, pick up in the 5th verse. We see this spirit of Abel working through the generations from time past, and it never skipped a beat. And it came, once again, even in the times of the Messiah. Let's look at that in Luke 1, verse 5.
There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth.
Jump to the 11th verse. We see Zacharias, a righteous priest in the course of Abiah. You don't know about the courses, you got to go watch those videos that we did about the course of David. He, in his day, was still fulfilling the course of David in the lot of Abiah. What was he doing?
And there appeared unto him an angel of the Most High, standing on the right side of the altar of incense.
He was burning up incense in the lot of Abiah, and in doing so, an angel appeared unto him. This is how you receive those righteous interactions with the spiritual realm. This is how you receive faith. Go in the lots and offer oblations unto Abba. Send up your prayers with the incense that go up with the golden altar, and Abba will send a messenger unto you to meet you, even Gabriel the angel. Let's read on.
Verse 12. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John.
So the promise was given, just like it happened with Abraham and Sarah. Zacharias and Elizabeth waxed old and had no children. She was barren. And the Most High came and sent an angel and said, Don't worry, don't fret. You're going to bring forth a righteous lineage upon this earth. Read on.
Verse 14. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Most High, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink. And he shall be filled with the Holy Spirit, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Most High, their Abba Yahweh.
So the Spirit shall be upon him from his womb. I won't let Satan touch him even in his early age, just like he did with Gideon, just like he did with Cain, just like he did with all these wicked people. I will give a righteous spirit unto him. What spirit will he give?
Verse 16, and many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Most High, their Abba Yahweh, and he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias.
Of Elijah. Just like Elisha got a double portion of that spirit, John got a double portion of that spirit. That same spirit of Abel that flowed throughout all the generations that came upon Seth, and then Enos, and then Canaan, and all the way down to Noah, then Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, then Moses. We see that same spirit coming upon John the Baptist to turn many of the children of Israel from their wicked ways unto this new and living covenant. Finish that up.
Continuing in verse 17, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Most High.
He shall make ready the people of the Heavenly Father. That spirit that was on Abel, that was on Elijah, shall now be upon John. Now, once again, there's some Israelites that teach that John was reincarnated or a reincarnation of Elijah. That's some foolishness. That's some abomination. So by that same metric, Elisha should have been a reincarnation of Elijah. But he was alive at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. The spirit was the same. That's what it was. It was the same spirit that was upon the righteous Abel, that was upon all the prophets that they sought to slay and kill. Just like the Pharisees weren't a reincarnation of Cain, but that same spirit of Cain was upon them, and they sought to kill all the righteous. They sought to kill Zacharias. They sought to kill all these righteous prophets. They sought to kill John, and they did. And they also sought to kill the Messiah. Let's go ahead and go to Hebrews chapter 2 or chapter 12, and we'll go and conclude it on that. Hebrews chapter 12, and we can pick up in the first verse. We see how this spirit of Cain and Abel continued to war even after their death, the death of Abel, even after the separation of Cain. Wickedness always was set against righteousness. Satan never relented, and he chose his people to fight against the chosen people of Abba, chose the sons of Amalek to fight against the sons of Israel. And there will be war and division all throughout the ages, all throughout the 7,000 years, until that wicked spirit, that wicked lineage is destroyed. And that will only happen when those of the spirit of Abel rise up and bring their accusations and the curses against those that stood up and did wickedness, those that bound themselves into the ways of Cain. Let's get Hebrews chapter 12 and pick up in the first verse.
Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Looking unto Yahushua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Abba Yahweh.
The Messiah endured in his day, and in doing so was set up on the right hand of Abba Yahweh as a priest forever. Without change. It's not going to change tomorrow or next week or next year or next millennia. He is a priest forever. And we can achieve the same goal if we strive and we overcome this present evil. If we overcome the spirit of Cain that seeks to influence us like it did our forefathers. If we can do that, we can receive the same glory. Let's read on.
Verse 3, for consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Most High, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him.
He said, resist, even unto blood, even unto death. Strive against sin, because Satan will come into you and make you forget. He said, don't despise the chastening of Abba, because when he chastises you, it's because he loves you. Read on. Actually, in the 6th verse, he'll say that.
For whom the Most High loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
He chastens everyone that he loves, just like he tried to chasten Cain. Say, I'm telling you, Cain, if you don't do well, Satan shall take over you. Then do well. Cain said, I ain't going to receive that. Cain received that spirit of sin, and there was no shaking at that point. Most High loved Cain because he was the firstborn. But because of his wickedness, he chose to dwell with Satan, and the Most High brought forth that great curse, that great plague upon him. Read on.
Verse 7. If ye endure chastening, Abba Yahweh dealeth with you as with his sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? If
you endure the chastening, and you receive that message from Abba saying, sin is at the door, son, do not open it. And you say, I know I screwed up. Let me get back to Abba. You'll be accepted. But if you are like Cain and say, well, I'm going out there anyway, let sin have me, Abba will reject you. What father chastens not his sons? Read on.
Verse 8. But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then ye are bastards and not sons.
Same thing said to Cain. You are a bastard. And you don't want to accept my correction? Go out there and be a bastard. Be without my covering. Be outside of my house. Go and let that stranger be your father if you want it so bad. Who of us goes to a stranger's house and says, boy, you didn't do the dishes. I'm giving you a spanking. You can't do that. You'd be like, you just don't care. You see a kid's loud in the store, like, hey, that was my son. I chastened him, but he ain't my son. Let me move on. That's how the Most High treated Cain. Oh, you going to be loudmouth and wicked? You ain't my son. I don't care. Go and do what you want to do. But Abel, Seth, I take charge over them. I send them in the ways they should go. I send them that correction. I send them the strength to withstand Satan. But Cain, yeah, Satan is your father. That's your daddy over there. I got nothing to do with that. Son is not mine. Yeah, exactly. Read on.
Verse 9. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up thy hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Most High.
Follow after the ways that Abel had, and that Seth did. And in doing so, with the peace offerings and holiness and righteousness, separating yourself from the sons of Cain, and from that spirit of Cain, you shall then see the Lord, the Messiah, the Prince, and you shall be joined in with him. But if not, you will be cast out to be with the adversary. Read on.
Verse 15. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of Abba Yahweh, lest any root of bitterness spring up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled.
That bitterness, however, can come through craftily, sneakily. You have to be diligent looking out for it. You don't just wake up and see it. You must diligently search out every bitter wickedness that is coming up because that is how Satan comes through. Satan doesn't come busting down the door and say, I'm the boogeyman. Come and worship me. He comes with tricks and deception. He came to Cain with some tricks and deception. Man, you gonna let your brother show you up like that? You're the firstborn. Don't let him do that. He came to Seth with deception. I know a better place than this. I can bring you back into the kingdom of heaven. Just follow me. Don't talk to Adam and Eve. Just come and follow me. But because of his diligence and his uprightness, he was able to check that and go in the oblations and receive the judgment that was Satan and none other than Satan himself. Let's read on.
Verse 16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright.
Don't be like Esau. Don't be like Cain, who for nothing sold his birthright. Don't receive that spirit of Esau or the spirit of Cain, but receive in you the spirit of Abel, that maintained and did righteousness unto Abba. Let's read on.
Verse 17, for ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears.
Look at that. He saw no inheritance of blessings at all. We covered that last week. When he came after Jacob in the tent of Isaac, Isaac was like, man, I got nothing for you, man. It's tough. Sorry, I can't do nothing. He sought with tears and crying, just like Cain did. But don't do this to me. Well, you shouldn't have killed Abel. I warned you. Go ahead and get out of here. Dwell with Satan for 7,000 years, and at the end you shall be put to death with him. Esau received the same thing. You have no blessing. You are completely rejected, and there is no place of repentance for your son. And not specifically just Esau, but specifically one of his sons, Amalek. Just like Ham. Ham wasn't cursed. Canaan was cursed. And then Esau. Esau wasn't cursed. His son was cursed, Amalek. And he will find no place of repentance whatsoever, though he sought it with tears and with mourning, would not receive it. Let's not be a part of that. Let's not be those that are prophesied will be weeping and have gnashing of teeth, being so close to the inheritance and squandering it for a morsel of bread. We cannot be like that. Let us keep the spirit of Abel upon us. Let's read on.
Verse 18, for ye are not come unto the mount that might be touched, and that burned with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest, and the sound of a trumpet, and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated that the word should not be spoken to them any more. For they could not endure that which was commanded, and if so much as beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake.
He said, don't be troubled and don't be like Cain. Don't be like Esau. He sold his heritage for a morsel of bread. And when Moses brought the chosen people to that Mount Sinai and made a covenant with them in Jerusalem, he made it with Jacob and not Esau, because they were chosen. Paul is saying, we are about to bring you to a better place. We're not bringing you to that mountain. We're not bringing you to Sinai, where you will partake in an earthly covenant. We're about to give you something greater. The Messiah is about to bring something greater. If there was a time to hold on, it is now, is what Paul is saying. Satan is seeking to kill, steal, and destroy, and he will make you think, I had to go back in the world. I had to go back and do X, Y, and Z. Don't sell your birthright for a morsel of bread. Don't let that spirit of Cain jump on you and be like Esau and lose everything for nothing. What is Paul saying? Read on.
Verse 22, but ye are come unto Mount Zion.
That Mount Zion is about to be given to you. Not Sinai, but Zion, the city of Adam. I'm about to make you watchers again, says the Messiah. I am giving you that original covenant given to Adam, given to Seth. I am bringing forth that spirit of Abel to you. Hold on. Maintain. Let's read on.
And unto the city of the living Abba Yahweh, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels. Verse 23, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to Abba Yahweh, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect.
I am bringing you to the heavenly Jerusalem, where there are innumerable angels, not where there are innumerable Israelites, not where Moses is, and he's on a mountain and fire is coming out. I'm bringing you back to the city of Adam, where there are angels praising and worshiping God, where all of these righteous men that live through that spirit of Abel are there. Moses is there. Abel himself is there. Seth, Enos, and Canaan are there. Enoch and Noah are there. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob are there. All these righteous men are there. And so too is Abba, the judge of all. All these just men are there. This is where he's bringing us. This is where the Messiah is bringing us. He's not bringing us out to the Middle East. He is bringing us to that holy land. You must maintain. Do not let Satan come through and bring forth destruction upon you and make you lose out on this inheritance. Esau lost out on a carnal inheritance. He was crying and weeping. How much more those that miss out on this divine inheritance? Read on.
Verse 24, and to Yahushua, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of the sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel.
The blood of the Messiah speaks better things than that of Abel. The sacrifice the Messiah gave was better than even what Abel gave in his day. And it speaks better things. If Abel stood strong and gave an acceptable offering and affirmed a covenant and brought forth accusations against the spirit of those wicked, the sons of Cain, how much more shall the Messiah do in these days through that righteous, godly spirit? This is a great elevation upon the spirit of Abel. We must operate in this righteous spirit. He speaks better things than that blood that was shed for Abel. Read on.
Verse 25. See that ye refuse not him that speaketh.
The Messiah is speaking, and he knows more than even Abel knew. Make sure you don't refuse what he says. Read on.
For if they escape not who refuse him that spake on earth.
Abel's spirit spoke from the earth, and Cain did not escape those accusations. Cain could do nothing against it. He pleaded with the Heavenly Father, and he said, nope, look what Abel's saying. You went and slayed him in treachery. Death and condemnation is upon you for the rest of these 7,000 years. If they couldn't escape that, if Cain couldn't escape that, then what?
Much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven.
The Messiah is speaking from heaven. And don't think Cain couldn't escape, but I will. Absolutely not. If you receive that spirit of Cain, there will be a great condemnation upon you. Do not say and think, I will escape. Do not say what they said in the times of Ezekiel. This is my chamber of imagery. The Most I don't know. Oh, he knows. And he will speak from heaven, and that condemnation will come upon you. Just like it came upon Cain through the spirit of Abel, so too shall it come in these last days. Make sure you maintain. Read on.
Verse 26. Whose voice then shook the earth, but now he hath promised.
When Abel spoke and brought forth those accusations, it said the Most High came down and thundered and shook the earth. Now what happens when the Messiah comes and speaks?
But now he that promised, saying, yet once more, I shake not the earth only, but also heaven.
He can shake the heavens and the earth. We heard an earthquake. Who heard of a heaven quake? The whole heavens are shaking through these words that were spoken by he who witnessed. Let's read on.
Verse 27. And this word, yet once more signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of the things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve Abba Yahweh acceptably, with reverence and godly fear. For Abba Yahweh is a consuming fire.
All right. Lastly, I know he says the last thing. Let's go to Revelations 2. Let's pick up in the 12th verse, priest, as we start to close down this class. Once again, Abel spoke powerful words through his spirit, through his righteousness and the oblations that he offered, brought forth strong condemnation and accusations against Cain. How much more the Messiah can stand strong? Abel's spirit shook the earth. The Messiah will shake heaven and earth. Let's get that. Revelation chapter 2, pick it up in the 13th verse, or the 12th verse.
And to the angel of the church of Pergamos, write, these things saith he which hath the sharp sword with two edges.
This is the Messiah speaking to the church of Pergamos, that third church, that third millennia. Read on.
I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is.
Satan's seat is amongst your church. I know the works that are happening. Read on.
And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam.
There are those who hold the doctrine of Balaam. As we talked about today, that spirit of Cain to bring forth accusations against those that had the spirit of Abel. Read on.
Who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication.
Who taught Balak to bring forth a stumbling block and transgression in Israel, so great, to sacrifice the idols and commit fornication, to go wayward and worship idols instead of Abba. And in doing so, they accused them and brought forth curses upon the children of Israel. This thing, the Heavenly Father, the Messiah, said he hates. Read on.
Verse 15. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which thing I hate. Repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth.
Will fight against them with that two-edged sword. And it's not a physical sword. It's not a weapon like we know. It is the sword of his mouth. This is the Messiah, the Prince, speaking, saying, I will come and bring forth accusations on your behalf. I, just like Abel, will come and bring forth judgment. Balaam came and accused you, but we will come and accuse them. The Amalekites are today bringing forth accusations against you, but we will bring forth accusations against them. That spirit of Abel will work to not only shake heaven not only shake earth, but to shake heaven and earth and topple those that are bringing forth death and destruction upon the spirit of Abel, the spirit of the righteous. We must all maintain, and the Messiah will come fighting on our behalf. And just like Abel, we must do the same. We must offer acceptable sacrifices. We must maintain in holiness. And once we have done that, we must go and see the wickedness of those that follow after the ways of Cain, and like Abel, bring forth strong and stiff condemnation against them. Bring forth strong accusations against them, and then the Most High will fight the battle on our behalf. Don't raise up a sword. Don't go and vote or march. Don't do any of that. Go in your chambers of imagery and go to the true and righteous judge and say, look, Abba, at what they're doing. And then they will receive the inheritance of that curse that was given to Cain. Death and destruction and fire and brimstone, the same that was promised to Satan, and the end shall come. And with that, we'll close the class, the spirit of Abel, and I'll open up the floor for Q&A if anybody has any questions. We'll go ahead and now answer as we start to conclude this part where we talked about the spirit of Abel. We'll start first with the audience. Anybody have any questions? Podium is ready. We'll open the floor. All praises. Come on. All right. Any questions? If there's no questions, we'll go ahead and we go and move on to online. We got any questions online? All right. All right. Well, if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and close down the class. Let's be mindful of what we've been going through in these series. Let's be mindful that there is a great battle, Armageddon, where the Most High will destroy those wicked seed of those that rise up against the saints. He will destroy the spirit of Cain, and he will do so by the spirit of Abel. Those that are righteous will rise up and do righteousness. As we talked about last week, we know a tree by its fruits. You can tell who's the spirit of Cain by what they're doing. Are they engaging in the love of their brother? Or are they over there bombing their brother? Are they over here setting up institutions for righteousness? Or are they teaching people how to do wickedness? Are they the owners of all these companies that are setting up all types of filth and abominations? Are they the ones setting up a monetary system filled with usury and destruction? Are they the ones creating factories to arm up the nations, and then once they go to war, come back and arm up another nation to go to war with them? Who is doing that? Find those who are doing that, and you'll see who is the spirit of Cain. But those that are teaching oblations, righteousness, fire coming down upon the altar to consume it as a sweet-smelling savor to Abba, going into the courts of the Heavenly Father to light incense upon the golden altar, those are the spirit of Abel, the righteous spirit. And when you find those, you know that they are going to war. And they're not going to war with army fatigue and boots on and AR-15s. They right there on their bed in their chamber of imagery going to war, bringing up accusations against the wicked ones, against those that have received the spirit of Cain. And that's how you know the end is near. The end is here. Destruction shall come upon the wicked, and there will be nothing left on the earth but righteousness and godliness evermore. Peace and blessing be multiplied amongst all the saints. Shalom.